Trump's loss.
Are you prepared to say today under oath without reservation that Donald Trump lost the presidential contest to Joe Biden in 2020?
Ranking Member Durbin, President Biden is the President of the United States. He was duly sworn in, and he is the President of the United States. There was a peaceful transition of power. President Trump left office and was overwhelmingly elected in 2024.
Do you have any doubts that Joe Biden had the majority of votes, electoral votes, necessary to be elected president in 2020?
You know, Senator, all I can tell you as a prosecutor is from my firsthand experience, and I accept the results.
Very telling. That's an answer we've heard from many of Donald Trump's supporters over the last several years as a way out of an answer, which is, well, Joe Biden is the president, not being able to say clearly what should be able to say clearly, David, which is that Donald Trump did lose that election. And just let's say again, there was not a peaceful transfer of power January 6th, to refresh some memories here. So, David, you've been watching all these hearings very closely. Let's start with Pam Bondi. How did she do yesterday, and do you think she's going to have the votes here in the end?
I think she'll have the votes here in the end, but you're seeing the beginning of the sort of mission impossible I think Pam Bondi faces. And Hegseth, you saw this also. They have to say what Donald Trump wants to hear. They can't say that Joe Biden won the election. You know, and at the same time, she's trying to say she's not going to abuse her powers. And so Trump is expecting investigations and prosecutions, and she's going to have a hard time building cases that actually show that. And then this enemies list issue was stunning. Kash Patel is the nominee to be the FBI's director. He wrote a nearly 300-page book full of allegations that there are all these deep state bureaucrats committing crimes. And then there's an appendix that we've talked about with the names of 60 people that's entitled members of the deep state, executive branch. So that is a de facto enemies list. And these are all the issues she's going to face. And then from my interviews about the first Trump administration, Jeff Sessions tried to walk this line. He's going to uphold the rule of law, but Donald Trump's demanding he fire Robert Mueller. He refused to do that. He's forced out. Bill Barr. Donald Trump demands that he help him overturn the 2020 election. Bill Barr refuses to do that. He upholds the rule of law, and he's forced out. So this is going to be a very difficult path ahead for Pam Bondi.
It should be said, too, relative to Matt Gaetz, people have said, well, she's much better than Matt Gaetz, which I don't think we agree shouldn't be the standard to be the Attorney General of the United States. But she was his first impeachment lawyer for Donald Trump, right? She represented him in the Senate on that. And as we mentioned, she was there in 2020 talking about some of the conspiracy theories about Joe Biden actually having lost the election when that wasn't true. She is a loyalist to the core, which is hard even in the space of a half-day hearing or whatever it was to run away from, despite what you may be saying, to get the votes. She
is respected as a sort of serious attorney general who, held that office in Florida for 2 terms. And there's much less concern about her and the DOJ workforce than there is about Kash Patel, who has far less experience, who's far more political. She will be Kash Patel's boss. So, again, this is this tension about producing what Donald Trump wants to see and hear versus facts and reality.
Well, and that is interesting what David says. First of all, people in Florida, including Dave Ehrenberg, who worked with her, said that she will work with Democrats and, in fact, aggressively went out of her way and often stood up to Republicans who got angry at her for working with Republicans. I think Ehrenberg may be on today to talk about running against her. And then, he's testifying. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. He's testifying in Capitol Hill today. We may have him tomorrow. But to underline what David said, Jonathan Lemire, it's fascinating that this hearing seemed to be about as much about Kash Patel. As the New York Times wrote yesterday, Kash Patel was brought up several times, and she distanced herself from Kash Patel several times. First, on the enemies list. Second, on saying there will be no prosecutions for public purposes. And third, on Kash Patel's promise to go after and arrest members of the media. And she I think she even said there, you're talking about Kash Patel. No, members of the press will not be arrested for doing their job. So It's interesting. The hearing was about Pam Bondi, but it was striking. The New York Times reported how much cash Patel came up yesterday, which suggests that he